Hello, Charlie TCG here, and welcome back to Looking Ahead, the series where I break down and analyse the meta, what's happening over in Japan, and how will it impact Taiwan. Today, I'm talking about my favourite topic, and a topic you guys love as well. Is creativity being rewarded in the post-rotation format? We're going to look at some fun creative choices the top players have played at the Secret League Championships this past week, and see exactly how they got rewarded, how this really impacted how we should be testing as we gear up closer to rotation. Plus, we've got the rest of the set come release for the Heat Wave Arena, which is going to be part of our May set, which had quite a few EXs got revealed, and one of them definitely has a lot of promise. I just want to say thank you so much for supporting the channel this past week. It's been absolutely incredible. And without further ado, let's jump right into these new cards. So we did get 3 new EXs, and one of them has a lot of promise. First one is Yanmega EX, 280 HP, weak to lightning, and has a 1 retreat cost. Being a grass type is definitely very relevant right now, and it has an amazing ability. Buzz Boost. Once during a turn, when this Pokemon moves from your bench to the active spot, you may search your deck for up to 3 basic grass energies and attach them to this Pokemon, then shuffle your deck. This is one of the best energy accelerations I have seen in such a long time. Pokemon loves printing really interesting, really good energy manipulative Yanmega, and this one here is incredible. When we have the likes of Heavy Baton, and if you look at the attack, there is so many good ways to power up these very hungry energy attacking options. Think about the likes of the Iron Hands, as well as also the likes of a Regigiga. So I think this could be very powerful in that style of deck. Plus Jet Energy, and we have switched in the format. We also have lots of ways to actually move it into the active spot. But let's actually look at this attack. 3 grass and 1 colorless, Jet Cyclone, 210 damage. Move 3 energies from this Pokemon to your bench, to one of your bench Pokemon. Like I mentioned before, this is great energy acceleration, especially when on your second turn of the game, Yanmega having 280 HP in the active spot. Potentially if you're hitting for weakness against, i.e. any dark Pokemon right now, like Zoroark, this is a huge amount of damage, and I think really powerful if we team it up with having a good energy acceleration, like having attached them to the Iron Hands and Regigigas. I think this deck is very strong. A card I think which I wish was a little bit better is Electrify EX, another Pokemon with 280 HP with 2 decent attacks. Dual Bolt, which does 50 damage to 2 of your opponent's Pokemon, but you don't apply weakness and resistance to bench. And its second attack, High Voltage Pressure for 2 lightning and a colorless, 180 damage plus. Already a good start, but if this Pokemon has at least 2 extra lightning engines attached to this one, this attack does 100 more damage. This, I think, is just a little bit disappointing. If we're in a format where we had the likes of Double Turbo or back in the day Double Colors, this could be an easy energy acceleration. Yes, we do have the likes of Electro Generator and Crispin, so we have multiple ways to actually get this powered up as early as turn 2, but having 5 energies makes this Electrovire very weak. I mentioned before, Heavy Baton could be a good way to preserve some of these energies, but I think we're going into a format where 280 damage right now is great, but if we're getting a return of Megas for us potentially in like September time, I think it's going to be very difficult for this Electrovire to really keep up in that format. Now, Dondoza, I think, isn't really good for attacking option, but probably really good as a wall style archetype for likes of control or generally wall. Has 260 HP and a basic, so already very powerful. And it has 2 attacks. Tsunami Reversal, 30 damage plus 10 more free damage counter on Dondoza. And this other attack for 4 energies, 120 damage, and you may do 120 more damage if you do 50 damage to the cell. This is fine, but I generally could see it more in a wall style archetype, and because it has a ton of HP, especially on a basic Pokemon. Now, we did get the last of them owners Pokemon, Misty's Lapras, which works well in a single price style archetype for this one. For 1 water, swim together, search deck for 3 Misty's Pokemon, reveal them, put them into your hand, shuffle your deck afterwards. This is great sort of search factor to get out your Psyducks, to get out your Gyarados or potentially your Magikarps when you're going on your first turn going second. I could really see this in this style of card, which I really like. Potentially this is support Misty really needed. And finally, we did get 1 new supporter card, MC Hype Up, draw 2 card, and then if your opponent has 3 or fewer prize cards, draw 2 more prizes. Generally drawing 4 cards as soon as your opponent's taken half their prizes, I think is really good. And generally I could see this work well in these controlling archetypes, which aren't really going to be taking many prizes, or generally has this good way, or generally just having this 1 copy in the late sort of style game. This, if you wanted to draw a few more cards, it's guaranteed draw 4. I really like this one. Another good thing to notice, we did get a reprint of Judge, and it still had the same sort of regulation marking as the one from Scarlet and Violet, so we can expect 1 more year of Judge. Overall, I'm very excited for the set. I'm especially excited to see one of the Team Rocket cards start to get revealed in just a few weeks' time, hopefully, as that will be out next month over Japan and for us over in May. But overall, I'm very excited for this. Now, let's look at the City League Championship, see exactly how the meta has really started to shape up after the Tera Box takeover. And we can see here, the meta has completely shifted and changed. Dragapult is now back up at the top, being 18%. And some of their decks have been really interesting. They're chucking the likes of Luminous Energy. Some of the decks from Tunda's brothers by playing the Bloodmoon Ursaluna and Monkey Dory have really kind of like seeped into this format, and I really like to see it's actually changing. And Tera Bix has dropped all the way down to 10.7%. So no longer is it going to be this 18% huge behemoth for our archetype. It's basically swap places with Dragapult. One thing I love about this format right now is we're seeing a lot more diversity. A lot more of the pie chart is much spread out. When we first saw post-rotation, Dragapult and likes of Reggie Bolt was taking up nearly 50% of the meta. And we're seeing here there's definitely much more evenly spread out. Archaludon, however, is a really good sort of poster child about being how strong it's really become in post-rotation. Lots of people thought the best way to play it is having likes of the Hop Zacian. It's a great sort of way to do a huge amount of damage output. You have a great sort of finisher sort of game. But right now it's going more of having a double, using Hop's double to having that gusting effect, or more recently, a new poison type engine, which we're going to talk about in just a little bit. But having likes of Brute Barnet and the new stadium card, which has place more damage counters, as well as also the Petrant as well. You have a way when you're going first, on your first turn of the game, to actually knock out the opposing Dreepies or Hootoos or Charmanders or Grolts. So you have multiple ways to actually kind of like gain more prize cards, gain that more advantage as well, or generally doing a little bit more damage. So your Archaludon is basically doing 250 damage, which I think is really, really strong. Charizard numbers are definitely going up a bit more. Nothing really creatively choices they've really done with Charizard, but I've noticed they're really focusing a lot more on saying goodbye to the Terapagos build and saying hello back to the Pidgeot Dusknoir build, which we're definitely more used to. Again, not too much has changed about Tera Bix, but generally the meta has changed significantly. Now, for me personally, I still think Tera Bix is up there as one of the best archetypes, and we've seen it perform really, really well, and potentially could obviously increase before they get the new set release on Friday. Raging Bolt numbers have definitely fallen. Now, Raging Bolt has been having a new sort of a single prize archetype, attacker, sorry. It's gone more slow approach by having that knocked to guarantee you get anything, and even chucking likes of Crispin, gain 2 energies from the deck, which is much, much stronger than trying to like guarantee a card from the likes of Sada. But it's always been playing the baby Raging Bolt, as it's a great secondary attacking option in the deck. But I've seen a lot more Slitherwings and even the likes of Koraidon can like pop in as a good single prize attacking option. Gholdengo and Zoroark numbers have slowed it down just a little bit. Gholdengo, I still think, is really, really strong. Obviously, it did very, very well this past weekend over in Vancouver by getting the second place, but also I think it's really, really good right now into post-rotation format. It's incredibly strong, and we're seeing that numbers do well. Zoroark, I really like how it's still going there. Obviously, not too much has really changed, not too many creativity choices, but some people are playing the Purloin, and some people are even taking in the Joltik as well. I really like the Joltik by guaranteeing poison your opponent's active Pokemon if they have a tool card. Could generally be some good sort of effect. And like so Flareon and Gardevoir numbers are actually increasing. Flareon is kind of taking in the likes of Sylveon, because obviously Flareon is great for energy acceleration, and generally having Sylveon, by guarantee you can just put 2 of your opponent's Pokemon on their bench into their deck. I know you can't use the attack next turn, but if they have some Dusknoirs, if they have some Dragapults, or if they have some really good power setup Pokemon, just shuffling back in the deck just removes potentially 2 or 3, sometimes even 4 turns of a player's thing, which I think is really, really strong. I really like how this metagame is really sort of like constantly changing. We're not seeing the fact that the post-rotation is not set in stone. And if we just look at the top 4 placements, we can see Dragapult is taking up nearly 25% of the whole top 4. So we're seeing how powerful it is. They have the likes of Gholdengo as partner. It has the likes of Dusknoir. It has Xatu. It has Charizard. There's so many different ways about what good partner is for Dragapult. If we look at the rest of the B tier, is saying like the 10%ers, we can see here that there's nothing too different from looking over here. They're about pretty much the same thing, except Gardevoir is actually popping up a lot more than likes of Flareon. So I think this is very interesting to see. So now we've actually analyzed the metagame, seen how much has really changed. Let's actually see what creative choices players have really played to see exactly how powerful they've really become. So let's start by looking at Tera Bix, and overall, if you look at this one, this looks very straightforward what we're seeing Tera Bix, but one thing is very interesting. It has a 1/1 line of Azumarill, and I'm like, why was this not teched in earlier? For those who don't know, Azumarill has an amazing ability. If you have a Tera Pokemon in play, it's going to attack for 1 psychic energy, and it does 230 damage. For on your second turn of the game, you now have a single prize Pokemon for 1 energy. You already play psychic energies because of Clefairy, you're doing 230 damage. This, I think, is really, really strong. It's great to offset the price rate. It's great to just have that sort of secondary attacking option instead of sacrificing likes of Wellspring or likes of Bloodmoon or Pikachu in the late sort of game. This could be a really good finisher, especially on your second turn of the game after you potentially might have used a Wellspring Ogre, slow them down, use this one for a boss up a Serendipity. I really, really like Azumarill right now in Tera Bix, and I generally could see it kind of like pop up more more going forward. Terapagos as well, it's also a really interesting deck, which kind of obviously changed quite a lot. It lost the likes of the double turbo. It lost the likes of some great sort of support options it really had to offer, but you obviously have a still really good attacking option. But one thing I just noticed is you can play likes of Crispin. You already have you just use the support for a turn, and you basically get your two energies. You also have Glass Trumpets, so you have another way to energy accelerate. And you can see in this sort of build here, it's not relying on having the other sort of effects. You're never really using Terapagos' secondary attacking option. These energies here work really well. The Dark energies helps with Monkey Dory, so Terapagos can do even more damage. The fighting energies really help with having the attacking with Cornerstone Master Ogerpon to slow down the opponent. The Psychic Pokemon really helps in your your Dragapult and Raging Bolt matchup. I guarantee you can get one-hit KO, and it can easily be powered up from having attaching from Crispin. So it's a really interesting way. This creative choice about kind of looking at Terapagos and going, right, okay, let's go with Crispin. Let's have some great sort of attacking options as well. And having a Boufflant makes it have a ton of HP. Even have the likes of a Scoop Up Cyclone and Bravery Charm. It can be very, very tanky and not really easy to get KO'd. So that's something which I really, really like. Another one is Dragapult, and this build here looks very straightforward. Again, similar like Tera Bix, nothing too different here, but does play one copy of Luminous Energy. The more I think about it, again, like the Zoomer, the more I go, this is basically your fourth Psychic or your fourth Fire. Yes, I know you can't recover it from the Crispin, you can't utilize it from the likes of Night Stretcher, but you're not running Crispin, so this works in that sort of sense. And it already has you don't get rid of the secondary effect because this is the only special energy you're playing. If you're playing Monkey Dory, again, it's great in that sort of way here. We're seeing a lot more in the post-rotation Dragapult. We're playing 2 copies of Badu. I still love the Hawlucha as a way to put that one extra damage counter, getting that onto the tree piece, getting it onto the Hootu, so you have that sort of guaranteed one-hit KO on that one from that Dragapult spraying damage counters. So that's a really interesting way to play Dragapult. Or we can go much more of a slower approach by focusing more on your setup. This one here, we are playing likes of Beach Court, giving our Pokemon free retreat. So if we start with a Pheasantipity, we start with a Dreepy, we're not sacrificing potentially a tool card or even an energy to actually retreat option for this one. I also like this one as we're playing a lot more heavy on the Precious Trolley and TM Evo, we can play the Rabska, protecting this one. As we saw on my video last week, how scary Wellspring Master Ogerpon is when it's left unchecked and spreading loads of damage everywhere. So having that protection is really, really good. As we're playing this one here, not playing Sparkling Crystal, they're playing 2 copies of the Crispin to have more ways to energy accelerate, and it works well as we are playing Super Rod. So this is a really interesting creative choice. This Dragapult player got to top 4. Could we be playtesting this sort of build right now going to post-rotation? Potentially. There are so many interesting ways about how we're playing Dragapult, and this build here just seems a lot more clean, a lot more protective sort of build as well, really preserving the board state. Another one is Gholdengo, and one thing I love about Gholdengo is obviously doing very, very well right now. And this build here is quite a unique take. We're still seeing the Dunsparce who have a ton of draw factors, so that's not too new, but it's playing the Grafari, which has 40 damage, which I believe is the amount of energy you discard as well. So it's a single price version of Gholdengo, but you're always doing 10 less damage for the amount of energies you discard. Yes, you need even more energies to actually discard, but one thing which is great about this one is you can use a single prize off trade. You don't have to go with having Gholdengo. You can still play the 3 Gholdengos, but they might have to go through 1 Grafari, which I really like. I love that creative choice. You're already playing a ton of different energies. It works really well with Energy Search Pro, so why not just tech it in this one? Just try it out for a bit. You're already running Darkness energies. You're already playing more Darkness energies because of Monkey Dory. I think this is a really unique trick. Or you could go in this sort of build here where Gholdengo is mainly focused more, it's a good attacking option, but you have a ton of wall style as well. So you're not always going to be attacking with Gholdengo. You can go behind the likes of the Mimikyu, Cornerstone Master Ogerpon, Frigoraph, or even Milotic, which I really, really like. You're playing more copies of Crispin. Good thing obviously can get your energy attachment of turn, as well as also attachment to one of your Pokemon, one of your walls to protect your sort of self as well, which is a very interesting style approach about Gholdengo. But you can see here, your Gholdengo is more of a finisher late game, as you're playing only 2 copies of Superior Energy Retrieval and not playing a lot of this one. So you're not really expecting to win with Gholdengo. You're using that one for great draw support, but finishing off in the late style game. Greninja as well. Greninja is a deck which is doing pretty well over in Japan right now. It's a fun sort of approach. People are much playing the Pidgeot style build and going with that sort of way. But what I love about this build here is It's playing likes of Crispin and likes of Tiamat's Ogerpon. You're relying on constantly being using the secondary attacking option by discarding the two energies and doing 120 damage to two of your opponent's Pokemon. You're going to do that turn after turn after turn. By having the energy search, by having the Tiamat's Ogerpons, you can move the energies around. By having the Crispin, you have more ways to get energies as well. Having a power hourglass. So there's so many great ways about this one. As a Crispin deck, and you're only really relying on multiple other sort of energies, you can play a Lily's Clefairy with a Lily's Clefairy though. Lily's Pearl. So all of a sudden, you're getting these big one-hit codes on Dragapult, so you're not really scared about that. So I really like how this Greninja deck has really chosen to be a lot more defensive, much quicker as well, by moving your energies around there, really relying on Crispin as well to energy accelerate. The only issue is there isn't any sort of recovery cards, for example, like Super Rod, so you can really maximize your Crispin, but we didn't see Super Rod be played well in Terabox, and we've seen how powerful that deck really is. Another one is, let's talk about Archaludon. And I mentioned before, it's kind of going more of the poison deck, and this is exactly what it is. By having a binding mochi on the Archaludon, by poisoning it with Brute Barnet and having a stadium out and play, you're obviously doing more damage to yourself, but you can do additional 7 more damage with your Archaludon, so doing 290 damage, which is very, very powerful. And all of a sudden, it's one-hit KOing Zoroark. It's one-hit KOing most of the powerful archetypes. And even Dragapult gets KO'd going back into your turn. So this is what I think is making Archaludon much, much stronger right now. It's very fast. It's very aggressive. We can see here, there's only 2 copies because you're not going to be attacking with it every single... You need it to attack every single turn. You're going to need that for that disruptive, huge attack in the late game. And we can have the likes of the Impetulant kind of potentially gain a stalling play as well by putting even more poison damage counters on them and taking more additional prizes that way. Or if you aren't a fan of this one, you can go with more, I would say, traditional build of Archaludon by going more of a heavier sort of counts as well, playing the Churro to pick it up, the Black Belt Experts to do 50 more damage that way instead of relying on the poison, or generally having the double as well for that gusting effect. I personally think this build here is going to be the best build of Archaludon. It kind of popped up this week and it's going absolutely insane. It's in a ton of different archetypes right now. It's a ton of different decks for Archaludon. And I really think if you're testing Archaludon right now for post-rotation, definitely try this build here, as this could be the best way to play Archaludon moving forward. Next one is Tyranitar. We're looking at some more interesting style decks which are doing well. And for those who don't know what Tyranitar does, it's if it's in the active spot, your opponent's active, your opponents can't play any item cards. So it's a guaranteed item lock. You're playing Budu as well, so you can pretty much constantly be item locking your opponent all the time. As you're a single prize archetype, which is predominantly always going to be behind in prizes, you can really get full effect of reversal to attach to Tyranitar and constantly be attacking. You're always going to be two to sometimes even 3-shotting most things. So I really like this one. You're much slower approach by getting rid of their item cards. We know how key items really are in this format right now. So I really like this much more disruptive sort of approach as a single prize style archetype. Now I did mention Flareon, and this build here is a very interesting one. Obviously, Flareon has a great attack, 220 damage, and get to energy accelerate from the deck. And you have some great other attacking options as well by having the Lily's Clefairy, by having likes of a Wellspring Mask Ogerpon. Wellspring makes sense because you're already playing likes of a Water Energy, but now Lily's Clefairy because you're playing that Sylveon. Like I mentioned before, Sylveon, if it's got the 3 energies, a second attack, you can like pick up 2 of your opponent's Pokemon and shuffle them into the deck. Granted, you can't use that attack next turn, but I think it's really interesting how I really like how Sylveon is working. People were playing likes of Leafeon as a great secondary attacking option in the deck, but I think the Sylveon is much stronger by having that more disruptive element, by removing some couple plays of Dragapult, by removing a couple plays of Charizard, or generally even Flareon as well. I really, really like this style of archetype, this approach. This is very aggressive Flareon as well to really preserve the board state, which I really like. And finally, I want to look at some 2 very fun spread archetypes. Hop Zacian as well. It's kind of becoming much more of a spreading archetype. No longer is it really the big power you're using the second attack and getting these huge one-hit KOs. It's focusing more on spraying loads of damage around as well by having the Snorlax and Choice Band that lot to obviously attack for free or do a ton of damage. But also, you're playing like some Iron Valiant, spraying some damage counters that way. You have the Maractus as well. If it's damage with it, put some damage counters on this one. You have the new energy card as well, which obviously puts damage counters if it's been attacked. You have Surfer for switching options. You have the likes of Volcanion to burn your opponent in the active spot. So I really like this sort of style deck. You even play obviously the TMF Devolution to win in the late game to potentially take all of your prizes by removing all of their key sort of threats. This is a very interesting way of approaching about how Hop Zacian is really working, and could this generally be the best way? We've seen it did get rewarded by that top 8 placement. But one of my favorite decks, Bloodmoon Ursaluna, the Iron Valiant build, actually did get top 16. Lots of people wondering how is this deck going to really survive? We don't play any of the key sort of good cards. We've lost the likes of Switch Card, but we still play Zacian. We still play the likes of Iron Valiant, and also the Tinglu to spread a ton of damage counters around this one. So generally, this could be a good way to play Blood Moon Ursaluna, but if you do like spread, I definitely would go for this style build here, and maybe if you can, just chuck in one copy of Blood Moon Ursaluna just in case. I really, really like how spread is really coming back, especially we've seen the Frostlass build do really well in the juniors and seniors division at the Champions League. We're still seeing them kind of pop up here and there over in Japan. And right now, with Hop Zacian becoming much more of a spread style archetype, we could see this creativity really be rewarded moving forward. And now kind of looking ahead, was creativity rewarded in this sort of post-rotation format? I generally think so. There are so many interesting ways and avenues, so many different techs people are adding in this one. We saw Dragapult constantly go back. It started off with the Zatu build. People then realized it wasn't as strong. It's going back to more of the creative choices of having that Dust Noir and having some other interesting techs like EXP. Pult, I think, is definitely back to being the BDIF. Some people might say it never left. It just had an off week because of Tera Bix, but I do think it's very, very strong. And obviously, how will Heatwave Arena really impact the format? Japan gets it out on Friday. So, of course, next week, we are going to be discussing exactly what are the key cards as well, obviously, to look out for our May set before we get rotation in just a few weeks' time. So, well, hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and I hope you guys have been enjoying the tabletop videos as well. We had Chien-Pao versus Zoroark out yesterday. I'll leave a link to that in the description below if you want to check that out. So I'll be back in a couple of days' time for a couple more shorts, and I will see you guys later. Bye for now.